Hitler crushed France in just 6 weeks, but then stopped cold at the gates of Spain. Why? Because Spain was the one battlefield Hitler couldn't afford to open. Spain had just survived its own civil war, torn apart, starved, bleeding. Franco didn't want another fight. And Hitler? He needed Spain, more than Spain needed him. They met once. Franco stalled for hours, asked for too much. Troops, fuel, guns, control of French colonies. Hitler walked away furious, called it like pulling teeth. If Spain joined the Axis, Britain would have lost Gibraltar. The Mediterranean? Blocked. North Africa? Game over. But Spain stayed neutral, barely, and Hitler never got a second chance. Franco knew how to win by doing nothing. Sometimes, the deadliest move is not to move at all. Hitler had a plan so insane, it almost triggered a war with God. He wanted the Pope abducted, dragged out of the Vatican, and silenced forever. By 1943, Rome was under Nazi control, and Hitler feared one man more than armies: Pope Pius XII. If the Pope condemned Hitler, millions of Catholics might rise. Hitler gave the order: invade the Vatican, kidnap the Pope, bring him to Germany. The operation had a name: Raven Action. The man chosen to lead it? SS General Karl Wolff. Ruthless, loyal, and now torn. Betray Hitler or kidnap the Pope, a choice that could cost him his life. But something snapped. Wolff feared the spiritual backlash. He secretly warned the Vatican, told them prepare for an invasion. The plan vanished. Wolff backed out. But for Karl Wolff, defying Hitler was just the beginning, because once you cross the Fura, you're a dead man walking, but who really knows what happened behind those closed doors? When an empire starts to die, it doesn't announce it. It panics, it lashes out, and it lies to its people. Rome expanded too far. It taxed the poor, ignored the cracks, and when the pressure came, it fell apart from the inside. The USSR? Same story. Censorship, paranoia. The truth became dangerous, and the people stopped believing. Every collapsing empire shows the same signs: division, delusion, leaders chasing ghosts instead of fixing rot. When empires feel weak, they pretend to be strong. They talk about expansion. They hunt whistleblowers. They censor students who speak inconvenient truths. Empires don't get conquered. They commit suicide, not with bullets, but with comfort, cowardice, and collapse from within. Look around. You're not watching history repeat. You're living inside it. April 1st, 2024, Israel bombs Iran's consulate in Damascus, not a battlefield, a diplomatic building. It wasn't a proxy hit. It was a direct strike on Iranian sovereign territory. Several top Iranian commanders were killed. 13 days later, Iran responded. Over 300 drones and missiles launched from Iranian soil into Israeli airspace. No proxies, no deniability. The gloves were off. Tehran's message was clear: we will retaliate directly and openly. Israel's defenses held, but not perfectly, and it didn't face the storm alone. American warships, British fighter jets, Jordanian intercepts, a coalition formed mid-air to stop the barrage, and still, some broke through. Missiles struck Nevatim Air Base. Fire damage marked the site. The myth of invincibility is gone. The taboo is broken. This war is no longer indirect. Israel's answer? A precision strike near Isfahan. Minimal physical damage, but maximum message. We know where to hit and how. We can reach you too, but we chose not to escalate for now. Behind the scenes, Iran's network is already in motion, a regional chessboard tightening around Israel. Every strike pulls the Middle East deeper into confrontation, and neither side is backing down. If this escalates, it won't stop with Israel and Iran. Great powers are watching, because the next strike may not be limited, and the fallout could go global. The world just learned. Iran will retaliate. Israel will strike deep. And this region has officially entered a new era of open confrontation. Watch closely. Europe was on the brink of self-destruction. Twice in 30 years, the continent tore itself apart in world wars. 60 million dead. Cities erased. And one terrifying question remained. How do you stop Europe from destroying itself again? They didn't use treaties. They used chains. France and Germany were locked together, economically, politically, strategically. If one country pulls the trigger, it shoots itself too. Mutually assured destruction, with spreadsheets instead of missiles. The European Union wasn't built out of peace. It was built out of fear. Fear of history, fear of each other, and fear of a third world war. But unity isn't static. It's not guaranteed, and peace isn't permanent. The question now isn't whether the system will fail, it's whether the fear that built it is still strong enough to hold it together. Of course, that's just one way to look at it. Why has the Middle East always been on fire? It's not religion, not just oil, it's geography, and empires have killed for it. For 2,500 years, empires haven't just invaded the Middle East, they've depended on it to survive. The Persians, the Romans, the Mongols, the Ottomans, the British, every empire marched through here, bleeding and conquering. Why? Trade routes, choke points, a bridge between three continents. Whoever held it, held the world. Because this land isn't just territory, it's control of continents. Today, nothing's changed. The flags are different, but the game hasn't. America, Russia, China, each carving influence by force, proxy, or money, all playing moves, but the pawns, they're people, civilians, trapped between power plays. So when they tell you it's about freedom or democracy, ask yourself, would they fight this hard if the land had nothing? In the Middle East, the board never clears. The pieces just change hands, and the next move is already underway. In 1991, the US faced the fourth largest army in the world and crushed it in 100 hours. They started from above. Air superiority wasn't earned, it was enforced. Radar, gone. Runways, shattered. Command and control, blacked out. Then, the ground strike, but not head-on. The US flanked hard through the desert. Not to fight, to surround, to suffocate. 80,000 surrendered, not because they were weak, but because they were outplayed. It wasn't a battle, it wasn't a war, it was a demonstration, a superpower, reminding the world what happens when you forget who built the game board. Two nations, a decades-old grudge, and over 300 nuclear warheads, ready to fire. India and Pakistan aren't just having a border dispute, they're sleepwalking toward the end of the world. It started with a deadly attack in Kashmir. Tourists targeted, 26 civilians killed. India points at Pakistan. Pakistan denies it, but the wheels of war are already turning. Visas cancelled, airspace locked down, water treaties broken, missiles moved forward, no more diplomacy, only dead silence, and armed arsenals waiting. One missile, and millions vanish. But that's just the beginning. Famine, nuclear winter, global collapse. This isn't just India versus Pakistan. It could drag the whole world down with it. This isn't their war, it's ours too. Because when nuclear nations stop talking, they don't wait, they launch. They were outnumbered 3-1, heavily surrounded. The enemy had tanks, air power, and time. The defenders had one chance, not to overpower, but to outthink. So they set traps, they leaked false intel, and they let the enemy march in exactly where they wanted them. What looked like retreat was bait. The enemy walked right into a kill zone, narrow, exposed, choked by terrain, and that's when the real fight began. Artillery from the ridgelines, airstrikes from hidden positions, supply lines severed, no escape. What was supposed to be a guaranteed victory turned into a trap they couldn't escape, because the defenders didn't just protect ground, they weaponized it. It wasn't luck, it wasn't strength, it was a battlefield designed to punish overconfidence. The US thinks it's leading a trade war, but in reality, it's losing a global power shift it can't even see. Washington thought a trade war would cripple Beijing. Tariffs, blacklists, sanctions, but while America tightened the screws, China tightened the noose. China is flipping allies, Egypt, Pakistan, Nigeria, even Gulf nations. Countries once locked in the US orbit are now pivoting to Beijing, flying Chinese jets, signing Chinese pacts, not out of loyalty, out of logic. Why the shift? Because America plays God. It tells nations what they can buy, who they can fight, what they can't have. But China, no restrictions, no lectures, just deals. And small nations are done playing nice. This isn't about weapons, it's about trust. While the US pulls back, China shows up, builds infrastructure, sells tech, delivers drones, offers power, without permission slips. While America debates, China builds. While the West delays, China delivers. It's not just selling weapons, it's selling a new world order. This isn't competition, it's quiet conquest. And if the US doesn't wake up, its empire won't fall with a bang, but with a handshake. The US thought it could control the future with rules. But China's writing a new one. One ship blocks an entire economy. In 2021, one vessel stuck in the Suez Canal cost the world $10 billion per day. But what if it wasn't an accident? What if someone closed the gate on purpose? This waterway is more than just a route. It's a lifeline. Control it, and you control the flow of trade. Block it, and economies don't just slow down, they suffocate. In 1956, Egypt took control of the Canal. Britain, France, and Israel invaded. Why? Because without Suez, oil had nowhere to go. Economies froze. Nations panicked. Power shifted. Today, nothing has changed. 12% of global trade still flows through here. One blockage, and trillions disappear overnight. Control a choke point, and you don't just hold back ships, you hold the world by the throat. They told you there was a war on drugs, but they never told you about war made of drugs. From Hitler's blitzkrieg to American fighter pilots, soldiers weren't just armed with guns, they were high. Nazi Germany pumped out 200 million meth pills. They called it Pervitin. It made soldiers feel invincible, sleepless, and savage. Sound tactical? It was. The Blitz was fueled by speed, literally. Japanese kamikaze pilots, high as they plunged into death. In Vietnam, US troops swallowed dexedrine like candy. Stay awake, stay sharp, stay alive. Jet pilots fed amphetamines for 20-hour missions. Warfare didn't sleep, and neither did the soldiers. Even now, elite pilots still use go pills, because war isn't about sleep, it's about domination. Drugs weren't a failure of discipline, they were strategy. Control the mind, and you control the war. Endurance, aggression, fearlessness, all chemically enhanced. This isn't history class, this is the war they didn't want you to understand, because when the bullets stop, the chemicals keep firing. What happens if the United States strikes Iran? This won't be just another airstrike, it's an assault on a regional powerhouse, with powerful allies, proxies, and missiles aimed at every corner of the Middle East. Hit Iran, and its proxies respond instantly. Hezbollah opens fire on Israel. Houthi drones swarm Saudi oil fields. Militias target US forces in Iraq and Syria, and just like that, the region is on fire. And then comes the real pressure point, the Strait of Hormuz. With 20% of global oil passing through here, if Iran closes it, even briefly, global energy prices will explode. Economies will panic. Oil prices surge to $150 a barrel overnight. Then, the nightmare scenario unfolds. Iran abandons diplomacy. It accelerates uranium enrichment and starts building a bomb, not years from now, but now. A nuclear arms race begins in the Middle East. Israel upgrades its arsenal. Saudi Arabia makes its own deal. And suddenly, the region is a ticking time bomb, each nation standing on edge, one misstep away from all-out war. This isn't just a military strike, it's a geopolitical earthquake. One decision in Washington could drag the entire world into chaos. So ask yourself, what if the US strikes Iran? Are we truly ready for what comes next? June 1967. Behind closed doors, Saudi Arabia secretly hoped Israel would strike Egypt. Why? To eliminate Nasser's growing power in one swift blow. King Faisal viewed Nasser as a direct threat, especially after Egypt's interference in Yemen. He saw Israel as the key to neutralizing Nasser's influence. Israel acted swiftly. The Six-Day War commenced, and Egypt's air force was decimated within hours. Nasser's dominance in the Arab world crumbled. Nasser's support for Yemeni rebels threatened Saudi rule. Saudi Arabia's covert collaboration with Israel aimed to curb Nasser's expansion. The aftermath? Nasser's prestige shattered, the Arab world divided, and Saudi Arabia's quiet alliance with Israel left enduring scars. Israel seized Sinai, weakening Nasser's influence. Saudi Arabia's indirect role reshaped the Middle East's power dynamics. What if Saudi Arabia achieved its goal? Could the Middle East have unified under a new leader? Might Israel have become the region's unexpected power broker? History is crafted in shadows. In 1967, Saudi Arabia and Israel's covert actions altered the Middle East's course. But who truly emerged victorious? Israel's military is hailed as one of the most advanced on Earth. Precision-guided weapons, elite intel, unmatched air dominance. The West calls it strategic brilliance, quick strikes, overwhelming force, and just enough narrative control to call it self-defense. Every move gets wrapped in praise. Every bomb justified, still safe, still measured, still the chosen narrative. But strategy isn't just missiles, it's perception. It's the silence that follows every explosion. Civilians buried beneath concrete, but headlines talk about tunnels, hospitals turned to dust, but the story blames shadows. The real battlefield isn't just Gaza. It's your feed. It's your mind, where truth is approved before it's shown. They win not because they're right, but because they own the story.